meet quarterly and engage in discussion, get towards professional and career development. Yeah, 3 main categories of topics that we discuss are pre-graduate school, that's the first one, where we try to equip prospective scholars with the graduate admission know-how, how to navigate graduate applications and to maintain strong and competitive applications. Yeah, then the second topic we talk about are for those in graduate school, where we talk about making the best out of graduate school, techniques and skills to employ to ensure that you come out successfully and your research come out good. Then the third topic we talk about is the postgraduate school, where we talk about preparing opportunities after graduate school. So we talk about the different types of jobs you can have, like jobs in academia, the industry, maybe a blend of the two and all of that. So far we've had 7 meetings. Yes, we've had 7 meetings and we've had a lot of interesting topics. The last Scholars Connect section we had was from academia to industry. That was really super interesting. Yeah, so I don't know, those people who mixed it, you could go back to the Google Drive. We have a Google Drive for Scholars Connect that we save our recorded sections there. So you could go back and try to listen to there. So we've had a lot of interesting sections. Yeah, we've invited a lot of guests. So for today, yeah, we are here for the graduate admission panelists. So yeah, I wish you all a very, very lovely section. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Comfort, for that beautiful introduction of what Scholars Connect is about. Please don't mind the distraction behind me, just just bear with me. All right, so we're gonna go to the next item on an agenda, and we're gonna be talking about the art of storytelling. So the rationale behind this session is just to, teach people on how to actually write their own story, especially as it concerns, how to, craft a very competitive statement of purpose. The person that is going to be anchoring that is my brother. We've known ourselves for a very long time. We attended the same fellowship when we were in FUTA, and we are still kind of like maintaining our relationship ever since. But I'm just gonna do an official introduction. No, you won't like this, but I have to do this. I don't know if you guys can see my screen, or am I sharing the wrong screen? Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Israel Adeseko is an environmental communication researcher with an interest in knowledge translation, the media, and society. His research, interrogates society communication strategies that contribute to upending the limits of change, both in policy and behavior. He's currently a visiting research assistant at Yale University. So over to you, Israel, as you take it away. Yeah.
Thank you, my very good brother and friend, Sheon Ajayi. I recall that we've been friends for more than 10 years now, and we're still friends. Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me from wherever you are, from any part of the world that you are. This is the beauty of technology, the fact that we can connect with each other, regardless of wherever we are. So my name is Israel Adeseko. I wear a lot of caps, but I try to limit, my conversations around my caps. And today I'm just going to say that I am a PhD candidate at the University of Tasmania. A lot of people don't know this, but then yes, I am still, I'm in my 4th year, and hopefully by the grace of God, by next year, I should graduate. But I'm currently in the US visiting as a visiting research fellow at the Yale University. So I think a couple of things that I would just like to put together, just like a grand, rules, is that what I'm going to be saying today might not pertain to everybody. And I kind of sense that because, in my interaction with a lot of people who are trying to gain, admission or, trying to secure one form of scholarship or the other, I've been able to, kind of sense, this idea of storytelling and how people have been able to, open up themselves to the idea of storytelling. So it's not something that is really new, so to speak, and it is not something that you probably haven't heard of before. But what I'm just going to be doing today is to highlight some of the things that maybe you are not paying attention to, and then things that I think would help you to kind of, beef up your applications, your essays, and things like that. And I'd also like to say this. Today I am here, but the reason why I'm here is because time has passed. So the difference between me and you is just time. And I'm hoping that in the next 3 months, in the next 6 months, in the next 1 year, a lot of you would be somewhere in China, in Canada, in the UK, in the US, or in Australia, which is open to everybody. So I'm going to share my screen, share a slide, very short slides. I'm going to rush through my slide and then just kind of pinpoint one or two things and tell you a brief story about myself and how that can become something for you to kind of build your story around and just have a sense of storytelling and all that. Are we together?
Yeah, we are. Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so storytelling, the art of storytelling for graduate essay. So when Shion told me that I was going to be facilitating this session or talking about this session, I thought about the best idea or the best way to kind of talk about storytelling and all that. The first idea was maybe I should tell my own story. The second idea was to just kind of scribble something down and just use that as a template to show you the idea of storytelling. But then the other part of me was the idea of story itself is having a convoluted or being in a conundrum and then having to bring things together to shape meaning or to kind of highlight a different value that you bring to the table. So I'm going to quickly show you what I try to do. And this is my notes. So this is the notes that I just put together when I was thinking about this. And this is storytelling session. And I thought this is about how everybody used to be when you want to apply for your graduate programs. You have a lot of things that you've done with your life. You have a lot of things that you've been able to do over the period of maybe 15 thereabout years that you've been studying. But oftentimes I find that a lot of people who are applying to graduate program or for scholarship and things like that do that out of fear and out of not knowing what next to do. So say, for example, you've been working in Nigeria, and as we know it, you've been working in Nigeria for maybe 10 years, and then one day you just realize that I think my best way out of this country is to get a scholarship, right? So everything you've been doing all the while hasn't been towards or hasn't been geared towards, the graduate program. I've always been like that as well. And I'm going to tell you my own story, maybe to round off this, right? But what I'm trying to say with this is that we have a lot of things. So you have a lot of things that is coming up. Oh, I've been this, I've been that, I've done this, I've done that. Or maybe you don't have a lot of stories and you're like, this is a problem, this is a problem. So you're highlighting all of those things and you're kind of putting relevance to all of those things in your head because you think that those things really doesn't matter. They are not what anybody wants to hear about. And so you put all of those things together and then it becomes an issue. But then the next slide says that you can, the heart of storytelling is kind of highlighting what is important and providing clarity about the things that you've done for yourself or that you've done with your life. So from all of those things that you saw in the first slide, what I'm able to bring about or just show is that you need to write persuasive stories. So what is persuasive story? Or what is storytelling itself? Or what is this idea of storytelling? So storytelling, narrative, creative writing, those are things that people use interchangeably to tell you about this idea of evoking something in somebody that would normally not want to do something, but then with a writing, they can start thinking in a different way. They can start thinking about that thing in a different way and then wanting to probably change behavior.
So let me see what they are doing.
Write something about that. Please, if you don't mind, can you just mute yourself if you are on the phone. Thank you. So my first point that I would like to raise today, or that I'd like to talk about, is you need to craft your own story. And when I talk about crafting your story, I want you to understand that a lot of people that are reading, that are grading you, that are going to read your essays, that are going to read your scholarship application, writing and all that, they have seen a lot. They have read a lot of beautiful stories. They've read a lot of beautiful, statement of purpose, right? So what is going to make you, the person that they want to give that scholarship? What is going to make you, the preferred candidate? It is by crafting your story and making it very authentic, making it very intentional, making it very thoughtful. So my approach to writing story, or my own idea of crafting your story, is one, you might want to first, take some time to just think about the things you've done with your life. You might want to, just sit down and, and live in that idea of being thoughtful about the things you've done prior to your time of wanting to apply or wanting to write your stories. And it might take days. It is not something you rush into. It is not something you just stand up one day and say, yes, I want to write my story today, right? So it is a skill that you need to learn, right? And so because you are learning the skill, it takes some things. So one of it, I would say, is being thoughtful and being reflective of your life so far. I used to, study urban and regional planning. I studied urban and regional planning for my first degree. I did environmental management for my second degree. Now I am doing media and journalism. And it is very different and very interesting to see how all of these things plays together. And that is the idea of storytelling. Storytelling gives you this leverage to kind of connect dots. So you've done a lot of things, and it's becoming difficult for you to bring all of these things together and kind of connect the dots. So one of the things that I did in my own, my approach to storytelling, which I, found out later, it wasn't as if, I knew about storytelling in the beginning. But what I knew, later on, was that I was able to find a thing that cut across all of these areas of my studies. So I did urban and regional planning. That's about environment. I did, environmental management, which is more scientific and all that. But then there is this element of environment and environment in things that I do. And then lastly, what I'm doing now is more about environmental communication, even though it is in the media and journalism, right? But it's a research area where you kind of think about how people think of environment and things like that. So I was able, when I was applying for my, my studies, my scholarship and all that, I was able to find that thread where I build upon my story. And then in crafting your story, I must say that a lot of us are a bit lazy. And I say that without any disrespect. I think that a lot of us want to just put together whatever we have. Some of you might need to do things leading up to writing your application, right? So in the process of doing all of the things that I told you about, that I studied urban and regional planning and I study environmental management, I was doing some things by this side that helped me to kind of solidify my story when I was telling my story. And that is about advocacy and volunteering and all that. People tell you to volunteer, people tell you to go out and be part of ideas that people are doing. It is something you have to do intentionally. So in crafting your story, number one, you need to know that you need to be thoughtful about it. Sit down, identify the things that are most important that you want to highlight, things that are most important that you think is valuable to the committee that's going to be reading your essay. And then if you feel like your story is not very sengemenge enough, you may want to start identifying things you need to do that would take very short time to do, that you'll be able to include in your story. Because of course you don't, or you should not lie in your story. You might do some other things that I'm going to talk about, but then as much as possible, you want to be authentic, you want to be intentional, and then you want to be able to craft your story. I want to say this as well. In writing your story, it should not always be about pitiful stories, right? I've read a number of statements of purpose where somebody will say, when I was 2 years old, we suffered a lot. Of course, everybody knows that in Africa, there is a lot of sakpa, and people understand that. So you can't build. I'm not saying you should not, if that is your genuine, thing, or things that happen to you, but as much as possible, tell stories that persuade people rather than stories that, shows, or ask people to, pity you in one way or the other. So tell persuasive stories, stories that, kind of provide value or highlight your value or the things that you've done with your life. The next thing I want to talk about in crafting your story is that you need to be think about the language you use. So when you're writing, I think it's important for you to identify the person or know the person you're writing to. A lot of us write to showcase ourselves, right? Think about the reader. Who is going to read this story, or who is going to read what I'm writing? Who is going to, think? Who is going to assess me, right? And these are, graduate school, maybe lecturers or people who assess or review application and all that. Think about them and think about the fact that they are going to be reading a lot of stories. They are going to be reading a lot of application, and so you want to, as much as possible, go straight to the point and then check your language. And in talking about checking your language, I would dumb it down a little bit to checking your language in terms of the sentence level, right? So at first, you may want to write a very broad story about whatever you've done with your life, and then kind of piecing everything together. But with the limit of 500 words, 1,000 words, 2,000 words, you want to make sure that every statement you put together is meaningful and is not just filler words. You have people write 6 sentences, and then you're like, the only thing that is valuable in this sentence, or in all of these sentences, is just maybe your opener. So you want to make sure that as much as possible, all of your statements or all of the things that you are putting kind of link together, but then the language is, very okay, to the sense that people can read, understand, and then every sentence you make makes, meaning. So I want to quickly touch about practicality. So here I wrote, what is the purpose of your writing, which I've talked about. So are you writing to get scholarship? Are you writing for admission? Are you writing to persuade somebody? What exactly are you writing for, right? So you need to identify that, and with that you can start scaling down and saying, okay, so who is going to read this? Who is going to grade this? And then what do you want to evoke with your story? You can evoke a lot of things, and that is why I struggled for a long time with people sitting down to watch 14 episodes of a series, or a series of an episode or whatever, and you kind of think that this thing, and the way stories are, sometimes might just be fiction. And as a logical person, I was struggling with it. Like, why would you sit down and be watching, season 1, season 2, season 3, season 4, season 5, season... Those stories are evoking something in people. So it can either be emotion, right? It can be whether it allows people to think deeply about something. So what exactly do you want to evoke with your story? Do you want people to pity you, like I said, or you want people to kind of say, oh, regardless of what this person has done or what has happened to this person in their life, they were able to still, provide this value. They were able to still, surmount, all these challenges that they faced when they were growing up, or things like that. So you need to first, ask those questions. Number one, why am I writing this story? What's the purpose of this? Number two, who is going to read this? And then understanding the reader's perspective of whatever you're writing. And then what am I trying to evoke? Is it a new information? Am I trying to evoke emotion? Which I think is a very good way to pass across your story or your message or whatever you're trying to write. Somebody is raising up, and I think we'll be able to do that at the end, and I will be able to respond to your questions. So approaches. This is very interesting because then we are coming to the practicalities of it now, and then I have maybe 1 or 2 more slides to go. So in talking about writing your stories, right? I would say I personally would recommend 3 approaches, right? Number one is either you use data. So say, for example, you're writing for a position or a scholarship in XYZ, right? A specific field of study, and then you want to kind of highlight the fact that you understand what has been happening. You have been able to map the field, and then you've been able to identify gaps and all that. Then you want to start with maybe some data. You want to start with stories about things that are happening in that field that shows the gap. People use statistics a lot, right? They kind of say this, and this, if this happened and this, and this, and all that. So they start with that kind of opening, and then they kind of move into other areas of whatever they want to write, right? I would say, however, that when you are doing that, ensure that you are providing insight. So if you're writing that, in 1500s, measles or whatever is very prevalent in Nigeria and all that, how does that, data, how does it connect to your own story? You want to find a link. Storytelling is about, finding links and connecting nodes together. And that's why I kind of like that idea, because whatever happens, like I said, in terms of people watching 15 series and all that, there is always something that makes you want to continue reading, right? So when you're using data, ensure that your statistics or data that you're providing is very relevant, and then connect with your own personal story. So find something within your own life, or that has happened to your own grandparents or people that were around then that connect to you as well, and then bring it together to tie up that story. Then the second one is use anecdotes. This is what everybody does, everybody do, when I was 15, this happened. When I was this happened. When I was this happened. That's interesting. But you need to come to a higher level of using anecdotes, right? Where you are able to craft something that is very genuine, but at the same time is something that probably is very it's very common, something that anybody can just think about, but then it is very direct and very peculiar to your own story. And then the last one is tell factual stories. In trying to tell factual stories, and I'm going to show you an example of these approaches, right? In trying to tell factual stories, which is what I personally do, is you find data, and then you find your own, and how it ties to your own story, and then some anecdote as well, and then put everything together, because that makes it very sweet. When somebody is reading your story and then they are able to see fact, they're able to see experience, they're able to see value as well in your story, it kind of brings everything together, and they're like, okay, I think this person is good. I think this person knows what they're talking about. I think this person is able to demonstrate that they understand what they're seeing. So I would kind of jump into this and what I call workshop, just to show you an idea of what I'm talking about. So in my recent application that I did to attend Yale University, I was asked to write a statement of purpose about my research, right? And this is something that you normally not expect. I mean, I'm in my third year at the time of PhD, and I have funding, I have everything. Just give me, this position and let me come. And they're like, no, you need to write statement of purpose. And then it's very short, 500 words. I'm like, okay. They are giving me the leverage or the freedom to do whatever I want to do. And my research is about forest issues and the conflict that I've seen in my location in Australia. But then for me to be able to communicate that, I have done a lot of things in 3 years, and I have been able to bring everything together. I wrote a story, and the story is about this factual story. There is a fact in my story, and then I kind of distill it down to how it connects to my own personal story. So I wrote that Tasmanian forests are known for their natural and ecological values and are a source of contestation in media and public discourses. So that's a fact. There's a lot of research around that. So I'm not quoting research. You could say that looks very cliche. It is not something that you would think comes out of research article, right? But then that is fact. Those are facts. There are things that have been published in research papers and all that. So I continue that story, because one of the things that I've also found is that people tell stories and then They just want to put that as an opener, right? They just want to put something there for people to see that, yes, they're starting with the story. And then it disconnects with the next paragraph or the next statement or the next idea. You should find a way to build your idea or whatever you are doing or whatever you're writing about, such a way that even somebody that has no idea of what you are writing about will be able to find logic in some ways, and you put some sense of style in what you are doing. So the protection of old growth forests from logging activities, for example, has been the subject of harrowing forest conflict in the past, resulting in sustainability politics that pits stakeholders for or against. So this is focused on my research, right? I'm trying to write a statement of purpose that looks at my research. I'm not trying to ask them for scholarship. And so I need you to understand that, right? You might be writing for scholarship, and so your opening might also be like this, but then you might want to find some other things that kind of demonstrate your peculiarity and why you should be considered, right? And then when I was able to write that first paragraph of what my research is all about, then I started kind of distilling it down to how it applies to me. So in 2019, I began researching. So I am providing timeline, right? I have provided a basis for what I'm doing, then I'm providing timeline. In 2019, I began researching the communication, this and this as part of my research. So my research focuses on, right, with that, my research seeks to understand stakeholders, this and this and this. And then to do so, I am exploring. You could see the way, and I'm not saying this is the best way to write stories, but I'm saying that this got me where I am today. And then this is my own idea of telling factual stories. I identifying what is important, for the person that is going to be reading it, and some facts, putting some data in your story, and then kind of fusing it together with what you have been doing or what you have done so far. So the second one is using anecdote. This is very interesting. I found this online. I thought, okay, maybe this is something that would kind of provide an understanding as regards how you use anecdote or how you write, creatively in terms of using anecdote and all that. So one of my earliest memories of my father's gravy was when I performed in my first, piano recital, right? I remember completing my simple version of Silent Night. And what I like about this is the idea that even without opening, you are drawn to read or to kind of understand why this person is starting with his father's story, right? And then I remember completing simple this and this and this. And as I hit the last note, I'm prepared. So this is evoking memories. And so the person reading this might want to, allow some more time to see whether or not this makes sense or this is very valuable and all that. So, and then the last one, which I didn't provide anything, is the data part, which I think a lot of people have an idea of, just saying using statistics and all that, and using those statistics to demonstrate how you've done what you have done so far. Lastly, this is the last slide, and I love this because I need to make it very clear to everybody that regardless of what you write, right, it is very important first, like we've said, to be able to tell stories that evoke emotion and things like that. But I want you to also understand that a lot of these people that are going to read your work have read a lot of stories. They read a lot of statements of purpose. So it is important for you not to beat yourself when you apply to 1, 2, 3 schools and then you're still getting rejections. It is normal, it is natural, it is okay. It helps you to build very well. I love what this person, which I do not know, Gupta, President, State University of New York at Alfred. This was 8 years ago. He said, "What's an ideal introduction of a statement of purpose? People are suggesting that you open with dramatic opening or using anecdotes or using data and all of that." This person wrote, "Writing a statement of purpose is like finding an ideal life partner. So what works for me might not work for Shinwajayi. What I like or what interests me in this school might not be what interests the other person. And the person that is going to be reading your work is not the same. So don't beat yourself up. Just because it worked for someone else doesn't mean it will work for you." So most admission officers have read it all. There's nothing that will surprise them anymore. They have heard it from all statements that says that the individual is a reincarnation of the instinct or dumb statements. So what every admission officer will tell you is that they love authenticity, truth. This is who I am. This is why I like your university. This is my life goal. And guess what? Thank you, man. And with this, I'm going to round up and say that keep telling your stories, keep writing your stories, ensure that you're writing stories that connect and then provide value, highlight your value, and then ensure that you are writing it creatively, but then you're also reviewing what you're writing and then checking the languages and statement you're writing in a way that it communicates value and is not just something that you just rush into. Provide or leave some time to write your story because it is something that you need to creatively and thoughtfully put together. And I hope that with this you'll be able to do some very fantastic things with your next application. God willing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Israel, for that wonderful presentation. I really learned a lot, especially based on my own context currently, as we try to make those stock applications at some point or wherever we want to find ourselves, this is gonna come, it's gonna come in very handy. All right. So we're gonna move to the next session, and that's gonna be the breakout sessions. So we're gonna have the breakout sessions now. And but before then, I would like to introduce the panelists, and Comfort is gonna help with that while I scroll through the slide.
Everyone. So I'm going to be in charge of. Where's the noise coming from? Okay, I'm logged in two places. Let me be one then. Okay, so I'm going to be the one in charge of introducing. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you. Okay.
Yes, we can.
We can hear you.
Wonderful.
Yes, we can hear you.
Our wonderful scholars. Yes, so most of them here have actually interacted with them one-on-one, and yeah, they're like my big brothers and sisters, So yeah, so we have about 11 panelists here, and there are people that we took our time to get from different countries so that yes, every prospective applicant here has a place to get. So whatever country you're thinking about, there's somebody that is in that region, if not that country. So yeah, so I'll have to introduce them. So yes, the first person we have is Dr. Folashade Alo. She's a senior lecturer in public health at the University of East London in the United Kingdom. She moved to the UK as an international student for her master's degree and thereafter got a PhD scholarship. Upon completion of her PhD, Dr. Fola has been lecturing within the UK's higher education sector. Her passion for international students has prompted her to share traveling abroad information for international students on social media platforms. So if you're very active on Twitter, you should have come across Dr. Fola. So the first day I heard her talk on a Twitter space, like I was like, are you sure I would not go to the UK like this? Like she's very convincing and she wants everybody to come to the UK. So yeah, so we have her in our midst today. So the next person is Dr. Victor Abuga. He's a PhD student at the University of Warwick in the United Kingdom. He has an MA in Development and Governance from the University of Duisburg, Essen in Germany, and an MSc in African Development from the London School of Economics and Political Science. So you see, we really have someone who has experience from both Germany and experience from both UK. So he's going to be in the UK breakout room. Yeah, and he's also a very, very interesting scholar. So yes, we have our Alario of Twitter land. Yeah, so Scholar Aaron is a doctoral researcher and a public health practitioner with up to 10 years experience working and volunteering in both the global north and south. He holds a first degree in microbiology from Nasarawa State University, Kefi, Nigeria, and MSc in public health from Leeds Beckett University. So yes, Dr. Aaron will be in the Australian breakout room. So if you want to know more about Australia, you have to be in the Australia breakout room. So yes, the next person is Next person is Rosemary. Rosemary is an academic and the current Vice President of Women in STEM Mentoring Program at the University of Newcastle, Australia. She is passionate in nurturing professional career in environmental science and conservation, especially in aquatic ecotoxicology. Her work is inspired by social and environmental issues and the intersection of the natural aquatic world. Yeah, so she will also be in the Australian breakout room. So if you want to know more about Australia, you join that breakout section. So yeah, the next person is my friend. Yeah, Peace. So Peace is a current a Masters of Arts student in Communication Studies. Her current research interest is at the interface where communication and information meets technology and how this synergy can optimize organizational and business operations. Organizational or business operations. Yeah, so if you want to know about HND, the HND to MSc or PhD routes, yeah, so I think you need to be in the USA. You need to be in this breakout session, and she'll be in the US breakout section. So yeah, if you want to ask any question that relates to HND to the MSc or PhD routes in the US, so you find her there. Yeah, so the next person is Scholar Sunday. Scholar Sunday is a PhD student in civil engineering, specialization in transportation systems engineering at the University of Alabama, Tuscaloosa, USA. His research interests focus on traffic safety and inclusive mobility. Okafor is a Commonwealth scholar and alumni of Nottingham Trent University and the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. So he's also going to be in the US breakout room. So yes, you can join that if you have any questions for the US section. Then we have Timilehin. Scholar Timilehin obtained his bachelor's degree in applied geology from the Federal University of Technology, Akure, that's FUTA, and master's in land and water systems from the University of British Columbia, Canada, through the MasterCard scholarship. He is currently undertaking his PhD in environmental science at the Memorial University of Newfoundland, Canada. It looks like everybody's in environmental. Yeah, so he's going to be in the Canada section. Yeah, so our mama, Scholar Summer Okiwe is a PhD student at Victoria, Canada. Her research interest includes Indigenous law, Aboriginal rights, governance, Indigenous feminism, and international human rights law. She's the co-founder of Sposom, a not-for-profit organization that provides financial assistance to prospective graduate students. So she's also going to be in the Canada breakout section. Yes, so if you want to know more about Canada application and all of that, so you find her in the Canada breakout section. So the next person is my friend. Yeah, so scholar Mr. Olayiwola. Yeah, I'm not conversant with that name, Tofopefun earned his bachelor's degree at the University of Ilorin, Nigeria in 2019. As a current master's student in South Korea, he's a recipient of the prestigious PK21 scholarship. His current research interest includes photovoltaic characteristics curves, approximation, and maximum power point tracking algorithms. Yes, so if you want to know about South Korea, yes, so this is the breakout room for you. He can convince you to come to South Korea instead of US. So that's the breakout section for you. So yeah, we have another interesting person here, scholar Olowo Kere. Oluwafemi is the name I'm conversant with, yes. So he's a passionate and accomplished teacher. He was awarded the Extreme Mess Scholarship Japan in 2021. He currently contributes to a research group on education at Hiroshima University. His research interest is in comparative education, metacognition, and modern instructional methods. His long-term professional goal is to become a well-known educational researcher. So if you are interested in Japan, yeah, and other parts of Asia, the Asian countries, yeah, you find him in the Asian breakout section. So to summarize, we're going to be having like 5 breakout sessions. We have the ones for guys in Australia, then we have for UK and other European countries. Then we have for US is separate. We have for Canada separately. Then we have for Asia, where we'll find people from Japan, South Korea, and the other neighboring countries. So depending on where you are interested in, yeah, you could join whichever breakout section you're interested in. Please, we want people to be.
I have a question.
Okay, yeah, what's your question?
Okay, sorry. Should I how am I going to put, like, should I introduce myself first?
Yeah, just go straight
Okay,
to
so my question, right? Okay, so I said I'm interested in the USA section, ma.
Yes.
So how am I going to go about it, ma?
No, don't worry, we'll come to that. Just relax.
Okay, ma.
Come to that. Just relax to come to that. So we are just trying to introduce them so you know which section they will be and what is obtainable. So I said we have 5 sections.
Yes,
so we have US, we have for Canada, Australia, UK. So whichever one you want to UK, Australia. So they'll all both be talking about other European countries as well.
Okay.
Then for Asia, where you have somebody coming from Japan, another person coming from South Korea. So you'll also be talking about other neighboring Asian countries as well. So we really want people to be in different persons to be in different sections. So everybody should not just pack themselves to US and Canada, please. So these other countries are interesting. There are a lot of opportunities there. A whole lot of people who have actually been talking about US and Canada. So please, let's also try to join other breakout sections. And I think all the breakout sections will be recorded as well. So yeah, so I think I'll hand over to.
Thank you so much, Comfort, for that wonderful introduction. So the breakout session is going to last for 5 minutes because of some of the issues we have with time. So I think it's a strict deadline. So once it's 60 seconds to the end of your breakout session, you're going to get a notice indicating that. So I've actually set the breakout rooms in such a way that you choose the room you want to join. So please make it quite orderly. I mean, you don't have to, the rooms are well annotated, so you should know the room you should join. So there's USA, there's UK and Europe, there's Canada, Australia, and Asia. And I wish you all the best. So I'm going to open up the rooms now, so you're free to join the room you need to join, please. And if you have any issue with technology, please reach out to me. Thank you, everyone. So we want our panelists to also join their respective rooms. Yeah. So please, once you have people in your room, start immediately because of our time. Yeah.
Those still asking how to join. There's actually an icon on your screen showing join breakout room. So you could just click on that and join the room. It's not like there's any link.